The road to cultivating immortals of the villain elder brother. Chapter 1. Crossing over to become a villain's brother. On a certain foggy night, a flash of thunder flashed, and a bright light opened through the sky, revealing a strange scene. A young man named Zhang Moxio is suddenly disappearing from a bustling modern city. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself standing in a vast green bamboo forest, holding a broken sword in his hand. Where is this? Zhang Moxio muttered to himself in confusion. Looking around, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He had crossed over. He became the villain elder brother here in a sect of cultivating immortals called the Kingzua sect. He was originally just an ordinary modern person, but he accidentally crossed into the world of a novel called The Legend of Green Bamboo, and the role he played was the villain brother in the story, Yechenexai. In the story, Yechenexai is a very scheming character. He once tried to usurp the throne and provoke infighting in the sect, but in the end it ended in tragedy. Faced with such a situation, Zhang Moxio suddenly felt a burst of melancholy. He originally just wanted to spend the rest of his life quietly. How could he become such a character? But on second thought, he quickly calmed down. According to the plot of the novel, as long as he follows the plot of the villain, he will eventually be able to soar into an immortal and reach the legendary realm of immortality. This may be his only chance in this world. Then it's decided. Zhang Moxio said to himself. Chapter 2. The Prosperity and Hidden Worries of the Kingzua sect. Kingzua sect is a sect of cultivating immortals located in the midst of thousands of mountains and rivers, and there are many disciples here, and the scenery in the door is for a while. However, the contradictions within the sect are also intensifying, and Yechenexai, Zhang Moxio, as the villain elder brother of the Kingzua sect, is burdened with various rumors and conspiracies. In the Kingzua sect, Zhang Moxio's name can be said to be resounding in the sky. As a villain's elder brother, he has a handsome appearance and strong strength, and has been admired by countless people. However, behind these external glamour, there are his means of intrigue and scheming. Zhang Moxio also slowly understood his role in this world, a villain who is burdened with the rise and fall of the sect. Yechenexai, what are you doing in the sect hall today? Suddenly, a cold voice broke Zhang Moxio's thoughts. He came back to his senses and saw a man in a blue robe standing in front of him. This person is the head of the Kingzua sect, Ling Tianjian. Ling Tianjian is a character who is opposed to Yechenexai, and the grievances between the two are also one of the main plots in the novel. Master Ling, I'll take a look at the affairs of the section. Zhang Moxio sneered, as if everything was under his control. A hint of doubt flashed in Ling Tianjian's eyes, and then he reluctantly smiled and said, since that's the case, please feel free to do so, senior brother. However, the vigilance against Yechenexai in his heart has not diminished. Chapter 3. Grievances and Hatreds of the Fellow Doors. The disciples in the Kingzua sect all maintained great awe for Yechenexai, but there were also many people who had doubts about him. Especially when his disciples, such as the talented Lin Hanmo and the intelligent Duan Ruyan, gradually became suspicious of his behavior, which made the situation within the Kingzua sect even more tense. Senior brother, why do you always do this? After a cultivation, Lin Hanmo couldn't help but ask Yechenexai. Yechenexai smiled coldly, you don't understand, this is for the future of the Kingzua sect. He looked at the mountains in the distance, and his voice was low. In order for the sect to be strong, I have to do something that others dare not do. However, Lin Hanmo and Duan Ruyan sensed that something was wrong. They gradually discovered that Yechenexai's actions deviated more and more from the right path, and even began to run counter to the true ideals of the sect. Yechenexai, maybe you are really for the good of the Kingzua sect, but the way you chose is wrong after all. Duan Ruyan was blunt. Zhang Moxio's heart was shocked when he heard this, but he was not in a hurry to refute. Because he knows that these episodes have happened in the novel, and in the end he will take the blame as a villain. Chapter 4. Betrayal and Turnaround. As time passed, the contradictions within the Kingzua sect became more and more intense. Zhang Moxio knew that his role could not escape the arrangement of fate after all. In the end, in a sect conference, he was framed by various forces and imprisoned. However, all this was not entirely unexpected by Zhang Moxio. In fact, he had foreseen that this was going to happen and was planning how to turn the tide. Just when Yechenexai was about to be imprisoned, he unexpectedly discovered that he had mastered a mysterious power, that was the hidden power that was originally unrevealed in the novel. This power comes from an ancient energy called Nether's aura, which only true villains can obtain. Zhang Moxio decided to break the original plot and chose to redefine his own destiny. He is no longer the villain who blindly pursues power, but decides to stand on the righteous side of the sect and lead the rebirth of the Kingzua sect. Chapter 5. The Finale of Reversal. Zhang Moxio led the disciples of the Kingzua sect to launch a thrilling decisive battle with strong enemies from various sects. In this confrontation, he not only used all his strength, but also used the power of netherworld chi to completely rewrite the fate of the original villain. In the end, Zhang Moxiao successfully defeated all enemies and resolved the contradictions within the Kingzhou sect. He is no longer the villain brother who is bound by fate, but a real hero of the sect. From now on, the Green Bamboo sect will usher in a new era. Zhang Moxiao stood on the main hall of the sect, facing all the disciples, with a trace of determination flashing in his eyes. Although he did not follow the plot of the original book to become an immortal and ascend, he used his own way to create his own path of cultivating immortals. Chapter 6, The Choice of Fate. Zhang Moxiao successfully reversed the situation, and the disciples of the Kingzhou sect finally saw his different appearance from before. The contradictions within the sect were gradually resolved, and Zhang Moxiao led the Kingzhou sect back on track. Behind this victory, however, lies an even bigger shadow. When the Kingzhou sect finally stabilized its footing under the pressure of the outside world, Zhang Moxiao suddenly found that he had a strange feeling on his body. The power from the netherworld was originally just a tool for him to resist external pressures, but as time passed, this power began to take root in his body, gradually eroding his consciousness, and making him feel a desire that he had never felt before, that is, a greater power. Will this power be the root of my fall again? Zhang Moxiao pondered silently. He knew that the power of the nether chi was not endless. The power of this energy is immense, but it can also make him sink into it and become a monster from which he cannot extricate himself. Zhang Moxiao was skeptical about this, but he still couldn't let go completely, because this power allowed him to always defeat his opponent in the shortest possible time when facing a strong enemy. However, the contradictions and anxieties in Zhang Moxiao's heart have not subsided with time. Whenever he closed his eyes, he could always feel the dark tide of the netherworld surging in his heart, as if some kind of voice was calling him, encouraging him to go to the unknown abyss. How do I choose? He asked himself. Chapter 7, A Reunion with Former Enemies. At this moment, fate once again pulled him back to the same track as his former enemy, Ling Tianjian. Ling Tianjian had been in a state of recuperation since the internal contradictions of the Kingzhou sect had subsided, and he had not interfered too much in the affairs of the sect. However, with the rise of a mysterious force, Ling Tianjian was forced to stand up again and seek cooperation with Zhang Moxiao. Senior brother Yat, the Kingzhou sect has passed the most dangerous moment, but I heard that there is a dark force that is quietly approaching the Kingzhou sect recently. These people are menacing, and if we don't join forces, I'm afraid we won't be able to resist them. Ling Tianjian's tone was full of firmness. Zhang Moxiao pondered for a moment, and his gaze involuntarily aimed at the forbidden place hidden in the deep mountains, which was once the mysterious foundation of the Kingzhou sect and the source of the netherworld chi. This dark force is related to the Forbidden Land. Zhang Moxiao said coldly. Ling Tianjian frowned. You mean, where did the source of this dark force come from? That's right. Zhang Moxiao nodded. That is the forbidden place of the Green Bamboo sect, and it is said that there is an ancient evil spirit sealed inside. It is very likely that this dark force is caused by the remnants of this evil spirit. A hint of surprise flashed in Ling Tianjian's eyes. He didn't expect such a truth to be so amazing. In that case, we must hurry to the Forbidden Land and seal this power. Ling Tianjian decided. Zhang Moxiao shook his head slowly. No, it's not that simple. Sealing is not the fundamental solution, we need to completely eliminate this force, only in this way can we ensure the safety of the Green Bamboo sect. These words made Ling Tianjian speechless for a moment. The contradictions between the two and the hostile feelings in the past seemed to be reawakened by the waves of fate at this moment, but at this moment, the two have no time to take care of those grievances, and the threat in front of them is the most important. Chapter 8, Experiments in the Forbidden Land. Zhang Moxiao and Ling Tianjian led the elite disciples of the Kingzhou sect deep into the Forbidden Land. This Forbidden Land is full of all kinds of mysterious powers and ancient enchantments, and no one can be sure what is hidden inside. When they reached the core of the Forbidden Land, suddenly, the air around them became heavy, and it seemed that some invisible force surrounded them. Be careful, there's a powerful ancient enchantment here. Zhang Moxiao said vigilantly. At this moment, a strong dark aura struck, and a low roar seemed to sound in the surrounding heaven and earth. Suddenly, an evil force swept towards them from the depths of the Forbidden Land. That's the power of the evil spirit. Ling Tianjian exclaimed in surprise. Zhang Moxiao's pupils contracted suddenly, and the power of this evil spirit was unusually similar to the netherworld chi. When he realized this, an ominous premonition suddenly rose in his heart. This power was closely connected with the netherworld chi in his body, and seemed to be attracting each other, making him feel an inexplicable tug. Senior brother Yat, what's wrong with you? Ling Tianjian asked, noticing Zhang Moxiao's abnormality. Zhang Moxiao took a deep breath, tried to calm down, and said, I'm fine, it's just that this power is somewhat similar to the netherworld chi in my body. I have to be careful. Just as they were about to go deep into the Forbidden Land, a voice suddenly came, echoing throughout the space, Good come, finally have the courage to come to me. With this voice, at the core of the Forbidden Land, a black shadow slowly emerged, revealing a figure. The figure was like a ghost, his face was faintly visible, and as he approached step by step, Zhang Moxiao suddenly found that the eyes of that figure were so familiar, like someone he had seen before. Chapter 9, The Truth Behind the Scenes. The figure in the forbidden place gradually became clear, and it was actually a man who was very similar to Zhang Moxiao. His eyes were full of intense anger and hatred, and he seemed to have a fate similar to Zhang Moxiao's. You? Who is it? Zhang Moxiao looked at the black shadow, and a trace of uneasiness appeared in his heart. The dark shadow smiled coldly. Do you remember that it was your destiny, the path you chose? Zhang Moxiao looked at the black shadow in astonishment. Are you my image? The image sneered. No, I am the darkness deep within you, the self you have never faced in your heart. I was the founder of the Green Bamboo sect, but I fell into darkness because of greed, and was eventually swallowed by my own power. Now I am the source of this evil spirit. Zhang Moxiao's pupils contracted violently. He couldn't believe that he was so similar to this evil spirit. He knew that all this was a trick of fate, and his power was inherited from this depraved former elder brother.